£28 million is a hugely significant increase in sponsorship revenue for Manchester United. Now, for the majority of fan bases out there, to have the level of pull and the size of fan base to not only have the biggest manufacturing sports deal in English football history, and now the biggest shirt sponsor deal in English football history. To do all of that, having not challenged for a Premier League for a decade, having not won the Premier League for 10 years, no Champions League for 15 years, only just won a League Cup recently for the first trophy in 6. To still have the biggest fan base, the biggest pull, be the most tweeted about, the most Googled, the most newsworthy team in the world would make most people proud of their club. But for me, I just feel ever more doomed, worried, concerned about the running of my football club and the role in this that fans play. I've been told for 3 or 4 years, Terry, don't talk nonsense. Buying shirts doesn't actually make the Glazers any money. They're paid up front by the sponsors. Me buying it is inconsequential to what happens at the club. And as we all knew all along, this was poppycock. This was nonsense. This was just another justification for fans to not do the right thing to help force the Glazers out. These new big deals are landing, and they're landing because fans don't care enough. And Man United are too big. And until the fans start to come together to damage the Glazers, they will stay. There's no doubt about that in my mind. We also see a big report today on top of this shambles of news that new big sponsors are in, that the Glazers are trying to convince Ineos not just to let them stay, but to have voting rights on the board. Now, Ineos have talked about walking away if they insist on this. Ineos, the Rain Group, and the Glazers have held talks over the last couple of weeks. So the Glazers are still trying to keep their mitts on the football club. They won't try and offer this deal to the Qataris. I know they get told straight up no. And a lot of this is just posturing to get more money in. By the way, these sponsorship deals, the reason why it makes me sick is even if we do get sold, it will be for a higher amount of money, which the Glazers will walk away with. So in the end, I'll get what I want, the Glazers leaving, but it is still going to pain me because they're walking away making more and more money. And if we as a collective just had the backbone and the stomach to sacrifice our own enjoyment to damage the club financially, they would walk away with some money, but it would significantly and by the way, not just do it today. We should have done this 3 to 4 to 5 years ago. Damage the club financially on match days. Don't buy sponsors' products. Don't buy shirts. And they wouldn't be doing these new deals. They wouldn't be able to be demanding 6, 7, 8, 9 billion pounds to sell the club. It'd be a cheaper price, and cheaper to billionaires, not cheaper to normal people like us. And the club would be sold. So when everyone said, but you got more money and you spend loads of money, we've seen this with the stories today that have come out. Ten Hag currently has the most expensive squad assembled in the world. But we know this is Fugazi. It's the most expensive assembled squad in the world because the Glazers, for the past 5 to 6 years, which is what this squad has been assembled over, in fact, longer if you include the signings like Anthony Martial and the likes, you're talking 6 or 7, 8 odd years of spending. The Glazers have incompetent people running the club far too regularly. Do I think things have improved slightly under the likes of Richard Arnold and Myrtle? Yes, but are they very good? Are they brilliant? Are they the best in class? No, they've got some things right, which I praise, but still got lots of things in terms of execution wrong. This in turn puts additional pressure upon the manager. Because what gets happened, the media use his face, as you can see in these images here, and they talk about the club's total spend or the fake Fugazi net spend since 2015 or 2013, and they try and put it all on him. Oh, he's got the most expensive squad, so there should be no excuses now not to win. But of course, there's excuses for him not to be as good as City, not to be as good as Arsenal. 1, the clubs are not run as well. And 2, we are completely disregarding the context of when he took over. And he's the first manager in Premier League history that I have ever seen, have other manager spending attributed to his name. Now, some will say, Terry, that isn't fair when you read the full Sky article today. They just talk about what the club has spent. Yes, but you're putting his face on it. It's very subliminal. I've been in this game too long. I understand it too well. I know how it's going to work. It's what they do to Manchester United. But the Glazers make all this possible. I get what the media are doing. I understand it. They've got to create narratives. And 1 minute, Man United have got this big, expensive squad, and we should expect the world. The next minute, they're telling us how poorly assembled this squad has been. It's a mismatch from other managers, and there's no chance of winning anything. It then achieves things they don't expect, and they say you can't call it overachieving based on what they spent. They can't make their mind up. Is it a good squad, a brilliant squad, a rubbish squad? Is the manager good, bad, or indifferent? The narrative always changes, and I can park that because we know what rivals do. You know, I've never seen Pep or Klopp. I haven't seen Ange Postecoglou all summer. People talking about the hundreds of millions of pounds Spurs have spent over the past 5, 6, 7 years on their squad. 8 years, if we go back to 2015, like these graphics do. I haven't seen the total spend. What is Spurs' total spend in that time? I haven't even added it up. Let's go back to the 2015 season. I'm going to add this up on air, and then I want to ask you all a question, right? I want to ask you all a question while I'm ranting. 71 million plus 83 million. I'm scrolling up my screen now, plus 121 million. Plus, I didn't sign anybody that year, and that was a mad one. I'm just putting this together here, all right? 150, 110, 95, 177 last year, and 200. So since 2015, Spurs have spent £1 billion. £1 billion Spurs have spent. I'm a liar, actually. That's euros. That's on the website with euros. So let me just convert the euros into pounds because I want to be accurate. Still nearly £1 billion, by the way. So 1062, 912 million pounds Spurs have spent since 2015. But show me the graphics, show me the articles in the mainstream media where they're saying big pressure on Big Ange to win major trophies because since Pep's been in charge of Man City, Spurs have spent nearly £1 billion, over €1 billion. It doesn't exist. It doesn't exist in any single capacity, only with this manager. No one has ever put the spending before Klopp, before Arteta, before Pep on their total spend. And there's so many graphics, as you can see on the screen, that do that to my manager. And I get what the media are doing, but where my anger lies is with the Glazers. They've killed this club. And look, there's things about the team I like. There's things about what Ten Hag's trying to do I like. There's signings that I think, they could be good for us. And there's elements of me, you know, where I feel like I'm trying to make the best of a bad situation, still trying to enjoy my club where and when I can. But when I read these stories, it knocks me sick. It makes me angry that we as a fan base still haven't realized that the Glazers only care about making money out of us. If we win some trophies along the way, it's a bonus. And people that only care about money are so easily controllable. You take it away. And it's the only action Man United fans have not tried. Every other one, hashtags and protests and green and gold scarves and going on the internet and going on the news, ranting, none of that's worked. Maybe give my method a try. It's hard. It's the hardest method because it means you've actually got to give something up. You've actually got to do something, which is a difficult thing to do. I know a lot of people don't like to do it, but they've finished that club, you know, and people say, you're not tired of ranting now. No, I'll never tire of ranting about my club. I'll never tire about pushing out the right message. I understand why the media will manipulate money spent and I'll put all the pressure on Ten Hag. And the bit that really gets to me, the bit that really gets under my skin is that Man United fans all fall for it. And they'll turn on the manager. I'm whispering it because I'm hoping they don't hear this, but they will. They'll turn on the manager. Some have already started. And they'll put the blame on him. And then the media will spin another narrative they've done 5 times now, where they say, but a better manager could get loads out this squad. And then the new manager comes in, and in the early days, they don't talk about the total spend or what previous managers have spent. They just focus on him and how he can turn it around and how he needs backing. And then as soon as they start, they slowly move the narrative to, but they've spent 1.3 billion now over the last 7, 8 years. What's the new manager going to do? And fans fall for it, hook, line, and sinker. Just like you buy the new football kits, just like you renew your tickets and you buy the lunch boxes and you subscribe to MUTV and whatever else it is that you do that feeds money into the coffers of the football club. It's all part of the same cycle, the same problem, and the same reason that Man United may still be the biggest team in England by a country mile. We're everybody's biggest rival. Everybody hates us. We're hated, adored, and never ignored. But all that being considered, we are no longer a powerhouse on the football pitch in England. We're a good team. We can also be a very good team. But until we're run right, until the fan standards and priorities are correct, we are never, for a month of Sundays, getting back on a regular basis to the peak of our powers. It's impossible because it's never been done before that a club can be run this poorly and still succeed on a consistent level against the very best teams in the world, in the hardest league in the world. Show me where this has happened. In a league like the Prem, with the money the other clubs have, the quality of teams there and internationally, that's been run as poorly as this, that it gets continual access. Unless, and don't you throw in PSGs who have a monopoly. Man United don't have a monopoly. We're the biggest, but it's not act like other clubs can't spend. You know, they're showing Man United spend there since 2015. Spurs have spent 12 million more. But no one talks about it. People say that Ten Hag's had 385 million since he's been here. Why are you doing more? Do you know in that same time period where he took over the worst Man United team in 40 years? Again, you don't hear the media talk about this and nor the Man United representation they have. In that same time period, Chelsea have spent just over $1 billion. Arsenal, 434 million. Liverpool, 287 million. Newcastle, 340 million. City, 380 million. West Ham, 365 million. So they talk about Man United spending exponentially more than other clubs. We're not. If we had no debt at the club and the club weren't having dividends taken out, then we may have a financial monopoly and you can judge us. But when you've got incompetent people on the board, money being overspent and underappreciated on the sales, poor running of the football club, as I mentioned, continuing media pressure on the wrong areas of the club, and fans just sucking on the teats and feeding. More the other way, really. The Glazers are sucking on your teats and feeding off you. We're never going to improve. I'm out of here. Man United, honestly, if this continues, we're done. We're doomed. Maybe we're already finished. Let me know what you think.